geeks didn't necessarily grow out of wanting to be like Skywalker, but out of wanting to be George Lucas in order to understand film. And I thought that was great. Hi guys, Geezer64 here, and today we're taking a look at In Search of Tomorrow, the 80s definitive science fiction documentary, and definitive, it's pretty close. Let's talk about it. Some of you may have seen some videos about this, some of you may have been backers of this, but this was a crowdfunded documentary that was put out, so I did back this, and I really wasn't sure what to expect. The team behind this also did a horror documentary called In Search of Darkness. They did a 1, 2, and I think they're about to come out with 3. Now, I'm obviously more of a science fiction fan than I am a horror fan, so I didn't really back those projects, but I was aware of them. So when this was announced, I was like, yeah, science fiction's right up my alley. I'd love to see a documentary on that, so we ended up backing it. And I just received it in the mail last week, and I watched it all. It's a 5-hour documentary, and you get a lot of bang for your buck with this. So I'm going to share with you guys the backer kit that I got, and then give a review for the documentary, because I've got some interesting thoughts on it, and I just thought it was a really good documentary. But before we jump into the review, let me just show you the kit real quick and the actual box itself, which is pretty sweet. So as you can see, it's got one of the slip cases. Now these are types of slip cases they don't use very often. The only one I can find on my shelf that has it is the Rush Hour trilogy, and I actually like these because it kind of just it feels a little bit better than the actual overall slip. But again, they don't use these too often. I love the fact that it has a slip because you get the different art. I'm not really sure which one I prefer more. I like them both differently. I definitely like more of the art feel, though, I think, on the actual slip. But the art here on the front is also sweet. You open it up, you got the disc in here. That's right, it's only one disc. So there's 5 hours of content on one disc. The picture and audio was not compressed as far as I could tell. Matter of fact, everything looked really, really sharp. I watched it on a 120-inch screen, and seeing like some of the old trailers and things from the movie while watching the documentary were awesome. You got a little booklet in here, some letters to the fans. Here's some people that were interviewed in the actual documentary. Some more stories. Here's the creator VC team that worked on the film. You got a film's checklist, which I'll get into here in a minute. And then some messages from individuals on the team, and a special thanks to some of the higher level backers and some of that. So I thought it was really awesome that they actually had this little booklet in here, because you don't get booklets with physical media anymore. Like, you almost never see booklets in physical media anymore. It's kind of like manuals and stuff like that in video games. Like, the booklets got smaller and smaller until they didn't exist anymore. And you got 3 posters as part of the backer kit as well. Here's instead of unrolling all 3 of them, because I'm not going to be able to hold them open for you to get good looks at them. They're all the same size, which is cool. I don't currently have a frame for them, but I want to get a frame. I'll just show you the actual images so that way you can get a better look at them. So here's 1, 2, and 3. All 3 images here. These are the posters, all 3 posters. So that's really cool. It also came with some stickers. I don't really know what to do with these stickers. I'm not really a fan of stickers. Don't really put them anywhere or use them for anything. But I do think it's cool that I have them. Maybe one day I'll figure out some place to put them at. Yeah, that's kind of what you get in it. I'm obviously a big poster fan. I collect a lot of movie posters. So I'll have to find a frame that fits these and put one on the wall. Not really sure which one I'd go with. Which one do you think is the best, guys? Which one is the poster you'd put up on the wall? Comment and let me know. So that was the full backer kit that I received. Again, really glad to have this and put it on my shelf. I've been expanding my documentaries section as it is, and very happy to put this on here. I don't back too many crowdfunding projects, but I've started to more recently, because I really kind of want to support more independent filmmaking, independent comic books, and things of that nature. So I think this was really, I'm very happy with this. That's what I'm trying to say. But let's go ahead and jump into the review, guys. As I said, this documentary is 5 hours, and I would have went through it all at one time because it was paced really well. I was very much into it. However, I didn't have time to sit around for 5 hours and watch it. So I did end up splitting it up over 2 days, about 2.5 hours the first day, or 2 hours, and then like 3 hours, I think, the next day or something like that. I ended up splitting it up and watching it, and I had a lot of fun. I love the way that it's formatted. It's streamlined and very easy to follow along with. They split it up by each year. In other words, 1981, they'll pick like 5 or 6 movies to spotlight and then move on to the next year, and so on and so forth, and go through the entire decade, because it is the definitive 80s science fiction documentary, as it says on the box. And they interview a lot of different people in here. They interview people who were behind the camera as well as in front of the camera for a lot of these movies. They talk about the impact and the influence it had on pop culture sometimes. All different types of things about the movies that they decided to spotlight. There are a bunch of other movies outside of the 53 that they spotlight that are referenced, and there's clips and stuff used from other movies as well. And you see those in the discussions between decades, because they have discussion topics in between each year that they talk about, and they talk about things like practical effects on one section, special effects, which are 2 different things. they count them as 2 different things, and I appreciated that. They talk about like world building. There's sections on like the Cold War influence on science fiction, as well as a section on the space shuttle, and they even have a section on marketing the movies, which I found to be pretty interesting, because they talk about movie posters, and I made 2 videos talking about movie posters, and I love movie posters. I collect them, and I have a lot in my room. You can't really see them here on my set here, but I'll take a picture of me in front of the posters over there. And not only do they talk about movie posters, which I thought was awesome, they actually use movie posters as part of the transitions in between the different movies. I thought that worked really well, because you actually see movie posters of some other movies that they don't spotlight, but you can kind of see them in the background as they transition over. And I thought that was really cool. They even have a section where they talk about like VHS. So as a lover of physical media, I thought that was awesome. They talk about VHS box art, and they also talk about science fiction magazines. So they even have a section where they're talking about science fiction magazines. So they talk about everything science fiction probably that you want to know. And as a big lover of science fiction, I loved it. And as I said, in between each spotlighted movie, they show posters, but immediately after they zoom into the poster for whatever movie it is they're spotlighting, they usually transition into showing a trailer from the time. So pretty much all of the footage, I don't know if they upconverted anything for this documentary, but pretty much all the footage they use looks like it's been upgraded. It looks really, really sharp. The trailers, on the other hand, they look like old standard def trailers, which is good. I thought it was cool that they actually had that. The soundtrack fits the documentary amazingly well. It's got that classic like synth wave sound to it. As a matter of fact, I just ended up listening to the entire soundtrack. It was like 45 minutes or something like that. I listened to the entire soundtrack earlier today. It stands on its own, even outside the documentary, which is cool. It'll definitely transport you back to the 80s. It'll make you feel like you're watching Kung Fury again. What's very interesting about watching this is that they mentioned a couple movies that I've never even heard of, which is always a good thing for me, because I love checking out older movies. There's also stuff that's been on my watch list for a long time, but with this film's checklist in the booklet, I decided to pull it out and mark off what it is I've actually seen, and so I can see what I haven't seen. So here it is digitally here. So I've seen 33 of these films, but I haven't seen 20. Most of these have been on my watch list for quite some time, like Mad Max and Flash Gordon. Some of this stuff I just haven't seen. Alien Nation, I didn't even realize it was a movie. I thought Alien Nation was just, I only know the TV show, so I thought it was kind of cool. I haven't seen like things like Akira, a lot of people are into. There are a couple movies on here that are at the top of my watch list that I haven't seen, like Outland with Sean Connery. I didn't even know that movie existed. I'm looking forward to checking that one out. The Running Man. Yeah, I don't know how. I've never seen The Running Man. I have no idea. I've never seen it. It's an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. I can't believe I haven't seen it, but I haven't. And Miracle Mile, which I didn't know it existed. The premise sounds really cool. And what they talked about it when they spotlighted, I was like, I want to check that out. And obviously the Mad Max movies have been on my watch list for a really long time. The only Mad Max movie I've actually seen is Fury Road, which was really great. So I'd love to go back and watch those. I thought about getting the 4K collection, which just released, but there was some audio issues and some problems with that physical media release. I think they've pretty much rectified them at this point, but regardless, I've not seen the other Mad Max movies outside of Fury Road. So what's really cool about this documentary is it introduced me to some science fiction movies that I didn't actually know about. And they even talk about Mac and Me. That's right. Not only does Mac and Me get talked about, it gets a whole spotlight, which is, I thought, was really crazy that they decided to do that. But I also thought it was really cool. They got the interview, the director, Stuart Rayfield, and I think that's how you say his name. And he made me look at Mac and Me in a little bit different light than I've ever looked at it. Now, I saw it when I was a kid. I saw Mac and Me when I was a kid on TV back in the 90s. And you know what? As a kid, I thought it was cool. But the thing I liked about it was the fact that they go to McDonald's, and, you know, kids in the 80s and 90s loved McDonald's. So,
hi kids, it's me, Ronald McDonald.
I was happy with it. But then I got a little bit older. I was like, man, this movie's bad. And then I ended up picking it up when they released it on DVD. And, you know, it's one of those movies that I watch with friends and just enjoy the insanity of how ridiculous the movie is. But think about this for a second. We live in a world where Mac and Me got a Blu-ray release, and The Abyss has not gotten a Blu-ray release. Think about that.
This is Sparta!
There were a couple lines during the documentary that I kind of wrote down because they stood out, some thoughts and observations that some people had that I wanted to write down when I was watching it. And one of those was the director of Mac and Me saying that he would do a Mac and Me 2 with Paul Rudd. He would write Mac and Me 2 with Paul Rudd and then have Paul Rudd star in it. And I just thought that was funny. Who wouldn't want to see Paul Rudd in Mac and Me 2? Come on, guys. I mean, just the memes alone, it's worth it just to do that. It can't be any worse than the first one, right? One other thing that was mentioned, which is something that I didn't know, because a lot of the stuff that they talk about, especially with like movies that I'm very familiar with, like Back to the Future, I know so many behind the scenes things about Back to the Future. When they talked about Back to the Future and Back to the Future 2, which both get a spotlight here, like all the stuff they talked about I already knew, but it doesn't matter. It was just kind of new interviews talking about those things. But one of the things that I didn't know was Bruce Boxleiter, who plays Tron. He originally auditioned for Star Wars and didn't get it. I wonder what part he auditioned for. This is something I didn't know. I thought that was kind of interesting. There was another line that was said. I didn't write down who said it, so I'm doing doing them injustice. But they said geeks didn't necessarily grow out of wanting to be like Skywalker, but out of wanting to be George Lucas in order to understand film. And I thought that was great. You know, because whenever I was a kid, when I first saw Star Wars, I was in elementary school, and I wanted to be Luke Skywalker. So I was like, Luke Skywalker's so awesome. I just love that character, and I wanted to be Luke Skywalker. Then I got a little bit older, and yeah, I wanted to be George Lucas. When I saw the documentary Empire of Dreams, when that was put out with the Star Wars Special Editions, when they put out Empire of Dreams, a great documentary. After watching that documentary, I was like, I want to be George Lucas. I want to create my own universe. I want to write my own stories and do that. So that is true. That line, again, I don't remember who said it, landed with me. I thought that was really great. As far as criticisms go, I don't really have any. I would say that one of the only criticisms I have is that Will Wheaton is in it a little bit too much. I'm not a big fan of Will Wheaton. I mean, I don't dislike the guy. I don't know him, but I'm not a big fan of Will Wheaton, and he gets a lot of screen time in the documentary. And they actually, if I'm not mistaken, I think they open up the documentary with him. I think he's the first person that speaks in the documentary. And he has a couple lines in the documentary. I just was like, eye rolling, but hey, it is what it is. I mean, I really do believe he likes science fiction movies. I don't think he's he's faking being into this stuff. But there's just some takes on some things that I'm just not a big Will Wheaton fan. There's even a part where Will Wheaton says, before we lived in a dystopian reality, I liked dystopian science fiction movies. I'm like, guy, come on, it's not that bad. I mean, maybe it is in Los Angeles. It's been a while since I've been there.
Oh,
It's a joke, guys. It's a joke. The only other, I guess, criticism I would say is that I wish there was a couple extra special features on the physical media release. There is one special feature where it's like some conversations with the creators of the documentary, which is cool. You know, even if it was just something minor, like they have all of the like trailers in whenever they are spotlighting films, they usually open it up with a trailer that was put out at the time. I thought it would have been cool if they like had the individual trailers you could go to. I thought that would be kind of cool, or I don't know, maybe a few extra special features maybe I think would be cool. Really, I don't really have any criticism for it. I mean, I think the movies they decided to spotlight were really cool. I mean, maybe there's a couple that I was like, maybe you should have covered this one, but overall I think that they pretty much hit most of the biggest science fiction movies you could think of. And overall, I think this is just a great documentary for film lovers, for science fiction lovers, for, you know, lovers of the 1980s. In 5 hours, you really get a lot here. There's a lot crammed into 5 hours. But it moves at a really fast pace, and I never found myself bored with it, which is more than I can say for a lot of the movies I've seen over the last couple of years. So I think that this is a great documentary. If they, in fact, do have it available to buy, it is something I would recommend. But comment below and let me know what your favorite, 80s science fiction movie is. I'm sure a lot of people are going to have a whole lot of different answers. For me, it's Back to the Future. I mean, I've said Back to the Future is one of my favorite movies of all time. So I guess I probably should just go with a runner-up for it, but definitely comment and let me know what you guys think about it. Again, very happy to talk about this. Really awesome to support independent filmmaking, and I really enjoyed this. I thought this was really solid. It's something I'm going to go back and revisit. But I really just want to thank everybody for checking out this video. Thank you, subscribers. You guys are awesome. And if you like this video, please like, comment, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube stuff, or don't. I'm not a beggar. I'm YouTube64, and I'll always tell you the truth.